This specialized ruler is called an architect scale because it is used to make measurements on architectural drawings, which are sometimes referred to as blueprints. The blueprints are drawn to a reduced scale of the actual size and show the architectural design and elements of a structure or building. Such drawings are created at a specified scale. The scale notation shown here indicates that on this drawing, a 1/4 inch represents 1 foot 0 inches in actual size when built. Knowing the scale of the drawing allows you to use the architect scale to measure the building materials and components specified on the drawing. In our sample drawing, where 1/4 inch equals 1 foot, we would measure using the edge and end of the architect scale, labeled 1/4. As you can see, the scaled ruler has many different scales to work with. Let's take a close look at the 1/4 inch scale. There are two sections. The longer section to the left of the 0 line is for measuring whole feet. The smaller section to the right of the 0 line is where you measure any segment that is less than a whole foot. The key to doing an accurate, fast scale measurement is understanding that the small section for measuring inches is the equivalent of 1 foot, or a 12-inch ruler that has been shrunk down to the scale you are using. The number of inch markings varies for each of the different scales. Sticking with our 1/4 scale example, you know that 1/4 inch equals a foot. So on the foot side of 0 line, each 1/4 inch of length represents 1 foot. For now, ignore these other large numbers, like the 88 and 92. We'll talk about them later. Now let's look at the inch part of the scale again. It is a 1/4 inch or 1 foot measurement, but it has been divided up with smaller tick marks representing the inches of 1 whole foot. The number of tick marks on this scale is 12. So each of the tick marks represents 1 inch of length. Let's look at the scale that starts at the opposite end of 1/4 inch scale. On this one, 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. The whole feet are to the right of the 0 mark. On the inches part to the left of 0, with only 1/8 of an inch representing a foot, there's not enough room for 12 marks. In this case, there are only 6 tick marks. We know there are 12 inches in a foot, so each tick mark on the 1/8 scale represents 2 inches. Let's look at another scale. On this one, 3/4 of an inch equals a foot. Whole feet are on the right, inches are on the left. With 3/4 of an inch to work with, there's a lot more room for dividing tick marks. If you count them, you'll find 24 tick marks. There are 12 inches in a foot, so each mark on this scale equals 1/2 of 1 inch. And one last example. In this case, the scale is for measuring drawings where 3 inches equals 1 foot. This much larger scale would be used when measuring a component of a project where you need a very precise measurement. Some examples would be a molding, a cabinet detail, or a window sash muntin. We now see the labels 3, 6, and 9, each representing a 3-inch scaled measurements. If we look even closer, each increment is divided into 3 sections, each representing 1 scaled inch. Counting the tick marks from 0 to 1 inch, there are 8 marks. Therefore, each mark represents 1/8 of 1 inch. Now let's go back to the 1/4 inch scale to clear up the mystery of those large numbers in the section used to measure whole feet. As you can see, right in the middle of the first scaled 1/4 inch foot is another mark labeled 92. Earlier, we learned the architect scale has 11 different scales available on its 6 edges. And we noted that the 1/8 inch scale starts at the opposite end from the 1/4 inch scale. Those labeled marks you see at the 1/4 inch end are 1/8 inch scale markers, counting from the 1/8 inch end of the architect scale. Now let's demonstrate some measurements, beginning with the 1/4 inch scale. We'll measure the area highlighted on the screen. When you measure with an architect scale, you begin by aligning the starting point for your measurement with the 0 mark on your scale. Next, take note of the number of whole feet in the section being measured. In this case, 3 feet. Since the section being measured extends beyond 3 feet, you now must measure the additional inches to determine the total length. Slide the ruler so the 3-foot mark lines up with the end of the section you're measuring. Now you can go back to the starting point of your measurement and see it is aligned with the extra inches. Remember, on a 1/4 inch scale, each mark equals 1 inch. So the total measurement in this case is 3 feet 3 inches. Now try one using the 1/8 inch scale. In this example, reading left to right, 5 is the last whole foot. Line up the 5-foot mark with the end of the section you're measuring. Now return to the starting point and read the inches. Remember, each tick mark on the 1/8 inch scale equals 2 inches, so your total measurement is 5 feet 4 inches. You should now have a good idea of how to read an architect's scale. For more practice, see the scale reading exercises in the activities area of this course.